Nelson Mandela gets a yes when he calls for lifting economic penalties against South Africa. In the Midwest, summer's over, but the rains aren't. Is it time for an ARC? And the health revolution. What can we expect from the world of HMOs?
This is NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw.
Good evening. There are more dramatic signs tonight of the profound changes in the world that we knew for so long. South Africa. For the last 8 years, much of the world has refused to do business with that country because of its racial policies. Now, South Africa is preparing for elections that will include full black participation for the first time. And so today, Nelson Mandela, South Africa's best-known black leader, went to the UN and asked that economic sanctions be lifted. The response was quick and positive. NBC's Andrea Mitchell tonight.
Mandela said it was time to lift the sanctions because the South African government has taken concrete steps toward black majority rule.
We believe that the time has come when the international community should lift all economic sanctions against South Africa.
Mandela acted because South Africa's parliament voted yesterday to include all races in a transitional governing body, preparing for free elections next April. Within hours of Mandela's appeal, the Senate followed a similar decision by Canada's government and voted unanimously to lift U.S. sanctions, with the House expected to agree.
This is an historic step in South Africa's long path from apartheid to democracy and freedom.
South Africa's economy has lost billions since the sanctions were instituted over Ronald Reagan's veto in 1986. Returning to Washington, the president indicated he's ready to help South Africa rebuild.
Obviously, the United States is going to be heavily influenced by the remarkable turn of events in South Africa.
After meeting with aides, Clinton issued a statement urging American companies to reinvest in South Africa. He called on state and local governments to lift their sanctions. In addition, the U.S. will no longer block International Monetary Fund loans to South Africa. The Peace Corps will send volunteers there for the first time. Commerce Secretary Ron Brown will lead a trade delegation to South Africa.
We're anxious to be of assistance in creating a vibrant economy in South Africa, creating economic growth.
Tonight, Mandela and South African President F.W. de Klerk are both in Washington seeking help for the difficult transition that lies ahead. Andrea Mitchell, NBC News at the White House.
The lifting of economic sanctions does not automatically mean a bonanza for South Africa. As NBC's chief financial correspondent Mike Jensen explains now, caution is the theme for many businesses.
For American companies, the lifting of sanctions could mean $8 billion a year in new business, but it will not take place quickly. First, the companies and financial institutions must be convinced that the violence and political instability in South Africa can be ended, and that the dismally weak economy can be repaired.
Unless there is a sense of security, many companies will hesitate before they return.
The pullout of American companies and others around the world in 1986 crippled the South African economy. The unemployment rate there is 46%. But since most U.S. sanctions were lifted 2 years ago, 28 American companies, including Tam Brands and Microsoft, have opened offices there. Another 135 American companies, including Johnson & Johnson and Abbott Labs, have direct investments or employees in South Africa and might want to do more. And 405 American companies, including Coca-Cola, PepsiCo, IBM, Ford, and General Motors, have licensing or distribution agreements. They too could expand.
Analysts say if stability returns to South Africa, companies will use the country as a kind of commercial gateway to the African continent. Good for South Africa and good for American business. Mike Jensen, NBC News, New York.
And in Moscow tonight, Boris Yeltsin and his conservative opponents remain locked in a power struggle. Yeltsin, with a fresh expression of support from President Clinton, is taking an ever harder line. NBC's Bob Abernathy is in Moscow.
With President Yeltsin in firm control here, tough Interior Ministry troops showed their strength around the Parliament building tonight, where Yeltsin's hardline opponents are camped out. Earlier, as the troops moved toward the Parliament, their commander said if ordered to attack, he would. Meanwhile, police fenced off and manned every approach to the Parliament building.
I think that the Parliament has effectively been emasculated.
Yeltsin said he didn't plan to use force, but he also ordered the disarming of the angry, hardline volunteers who've gathered to defend his opponents.
Yeltsin has to get out. That's all. Either we win or we die, but if we die, at least it will be with honor.
All day, a predominantly old, in some cases eccentric, crowd of communists and other Yeltsin opponents waited in the growing cold for some end to the tension. Many bitterly resented U.S. support for Yeltsin.
How can Clinton support Yeltsin, who practically tramped our Constitution?
Tonight, inside the Parliament building, as Yeltsin's pressure increases, the lights are out, there's no hot water, and the telephones have been cut off.
So people speak of two possible scenarios now. One is for Yeltsin's massive forces around this building to attack. The other is for Yeltsin simply to wait, for his opposition here to wither away. Bob Abernethy, NBC News, outside Parliament in Moscow.
In the former Soviet Republic of Georgia, President Edward Shevardnadze is holed up in a bunker tonight. Rebel troops are on the offensive with fierce fighting in the streets. There are thousands of refugees. Shevardnadze says government reinforcements are needed to hold off the rebels in that continuing civil war. When Nightly News continues, in this country, tales from the train wreck. Heroes and survivors talk about a night they'll never forget. And a baseball lover's dream, calling them as you see them from the broadcast booth.
As expected, the shape is new and beautiful. As expected, it's quieter and has more space. As expected, there are dual airbags and anti-lock brakes. As expected, the automotive world once again revolves around one car. The new Accord EX from Honda. As expected.
Tonight's forecast, freezer burn. You need Ziploc brand freezer bags. Only Ziploc has the gripper zipper. Tough, tiny teeth you can feel gripping. Locks freshness in, freezer burn out. I'm freezing my rump roast. Ziploc has the lock on freshness.
Hot breakfast idea. Smucker's peach preserves on cereal. Jams are naturally fat-free, less than 20 calories per teaspoon. A real man's breakfast. With a name like Smucker's, it has to be good.
In the already soaked Midwest, the rain just won't quit. It went on all summer, and now it's back. A torrent in that region over the past few days, and more is on the way. NBC's Dawn Fratangelo has returned to the scene of the flooding.
It's like the sequel to a disaster movie, The Great Flood Part 2. Since Wednesday, thunderstorms have dumped as much as 9 inches of rain in sections of Missouri and southwestern Illinois. Flash flooding has claimed 2 lives this week, and the Mississippi and Missouri rivers are creeping higher again.
The last report we got, this might come up another 2 or 3 feet. And there's some heavy weather just west of us.
In Jefferson County, south of St. Louis, flooding is washing roads away and threatening to do the same to livestock.
Just build it and hope it's high enough when the waters come.
In some areas, sandbagging may be futile, since many levees were washed away during the first wave of flooding this summer. In the historic town of Kimmswick along the Rock Creek, they thought the worst was over. In fact, only 3 weeks ago, part of the massive levee was torn down. Volunteers poured in to clean up and rebuild homes. Now they're rebuilding the levee and have only until tonight to get it 5 feet high. Sandra Densmore came from Texas to help rebuild this house. It was just about complete.
It might get filled the basement, but we don't think it'll go in the house.
The owner of the house, Pat Cagle, suffered a nervous breakdown after this summer's flooding. This time, her husband is at risk.
I'm sorry. I can't help the breakdown. But it's unbelievable, and this happened again here. It's about to kill me, to be honest with you. It hurts.
What's worse for weary residents and volunteers, an all-too-familiar weather report. Rain through the weekend. Dawn Fratangelo, NBC News, Kimmswick, Missouri.
And there's an unusual byproduct of the Midwestern floods in the Atlantic Ocean, of all places. Scientists off the Florida coast have discovered a 10-mile wide stream of fresh water being carried out to sea by the Gulf Stream. The source, the swollen Mississippi River, which is 1,500 miles away. In southern Alabama tonight, the grim search is over after Wednesday night's disastrous train wreck. The final toll, 47 dead, almost a quarter of everyone on board that train. But as NBC's Kenley Jones reports now, this is more than just a story of victims. There were heroes that night as well.
Workmen were able to free the train's lead engine from 15 feet of mud and water today. The bodies of the engineer and 2 assistants, the last 3 missing victims, were recovered. As the cleanup continues, survivors are providing new accounts of the acts of heroism that kept them from a watery grave. One of the heroes rescued more than 30 elderly passengers from a partially submerged car during the first chaotic minutes after the crash.
He just did a good job, but he had a tremendous voice at not panicky. He wasn't panicky. He did not panic us.
Trudy Justin and her husband Larry, who's still in the hospital with injuries, were helped out a broken window by 26-year-old Michael Dopai.
So, I'd grab their hand, I'd tell them they're going to go underwater for a second. And, that kind of calmed everybody down a little bit.
He said, your head is going to go under, but I'm going to pull you right back up. And I jumped down, my head went under, he pulled me up that fast. Just like that.
But I just tried to talk to him because everybody was pretty frightened, and it was just good therapy for myself,
Clutching a horseshoe she found on vacation before the crash, Trudy Justin says she doesn't want Michael to worry that some in their car didn't make it out.
He didn't get to save those. If he would have felt that he was a miracle man, he would have done that too. So I don't want to burden him.
There was something that needed to be done, and I was able to do it.
Larry Justin says there were other heroes too.
I just think without them, there'd be a lot more people on the dead list.
But Michael Dopai is the one they'll remember. Kenley Jones, NBC News, Mobile.
When we come back, America's rising tide of violence. President Clinton links it to the high cost of health care.
I drink V8 because...
Hey, I think it's good for me. It makes me peppy.
You got your vitamin A, your vitamin C. I like it because it has those beta-carotenes in it.
What's that word?
Beta-carotenes.
Pardon?
Beta what? You know, beta-carotene. Muy sabroso.
Call me crazy, but I think it's delicious.
35 calories.
Really?
35? Yes. It's a kick. I love you.
V8? V8 keeps me thin. It's zippy kind of thing, a zippy thing.
She likes milk and it shows. She's got great muscle tone. She likes milk and it shows. Strong, healthy bones. He likes milk and it shows. Baby, soft skin, bright eyes, a healthy grin. He likes milk and it shows.
Milk does a body good with vitamin A to help keep skin smooth, calcium for strong bones, and protein to help build muscle. When you drink milk, it shows.
She likes milk and it shows. It does her body good.
I browse all over, but I buy at Burlington Coat Factory. I say very big on big-name designers.
I saw this same dress at the mall yesterday.
Look at this low price. How do they do it?
There's just no place like this place.
I got it at the factory, Burlington Coat Factory. They're more than great coats.
I'm Jim Vance.
I'm Doreen Gensler. Tonight on News 4, Nelson Mandela continues his visit to Washington. We'll take you to a dinner in his honor.
D.C. police say a gang war in D.C. might have claimed as many as 30 lives. Tonight's news, weather, and sports. Archer's Weekend Movie Guide as well at 11.
President Clinton has taken his health care show on the road. First stop, Florida, where violent crime has been headline news recently. The president says that violence has become one of our major health problems. NBC's Jim Eklashevsky tonight.
In St. Petersburg, Florida, to talk health care, President Clinton stopped off at a youth rehabilitation center to highlight still another cause, teenage violence. And he's convinced now he may have found a new way to sell both health care and gun control.
Homicide is the second leading cause of death among Americans aged 15 to 25. And more of our teenage boys die from gunshots now than any other cause.
In his speech to Congress Wednesday night, Clinton tied the issue of gun control to the skyrocketing cost of medical care.
The outrageous costs of violence in this country stem in large measure from the fact that this is the only country in the world where teenagers can rout the streets at random with semi-automatic weapons and be better armed than the police.
Colorado just joined 17 other states in making it illegal for kids to own handguns. And Clinton's thrown his support behind the Brady bill, which would require a 5-day waiting period on the sale of handguns. Still, gun rights advocates like the NRA say lawmakers are missing the point and should crack down on the kids, not the guns.
The juveniles know they're never punished, so they rape, rob, murder, steal, and laugh at the system.
Gun control's a tough sell, but a senior Clinton official called teen violence the hot issue. Combine that with health care, and they think they've got a good chance on both counts. Jim Miklashevsky, NBC News, the White House.
More on the health revolution now. There are some places around the country that are way ahead of the federal government in finding new ways to control health care costs. One example is Sacramento, California. Some call that the managed care capital of the nation. NBC's George Lewis tonight on how it works.
About 700,000 people in Sacramento, 85% of those who have medical insurance, are in health maintenance organizations, HMOs, or some other form of managed health care. Mercy General Hospital, a 97-year-old institution, now is part of a network of 5 hospitals and a medical clinic with 117 doctors under one roof.
Physicians here try and manage themselves so that we're able to capture efficiencies by eliminating duplication and unnecessary medications or treatments or whatever.
700 other doctors who practice outside the clinic are also affiliated with the Mercy healthcare system, mass merchandising medicine at a big discount.
Are you coughing at all? Just a little bit.
Gary Box almost died from an infection that got into his lungs. After 2 hospital stays, he's getting better. Total cost to Box, $60. Without health insurance and without managed care, he could have been liable for $60,000 in costs. While managed care is being touted as the wave of the future and Sacramento is being hailed as a model for the rest of the nation, there are some physicians and some patients who feel that the quality of medicine will suffer as a result.
Let me take a look in yours.
Under some plans, there is a limited choice of doctors. Patients choose from a list of primary care physicians. Some plans force those physicians to give up part of their own fees if they make too many referrals or order too many tests. Prakash Jain, a Sacramento teacher, says that practice almost cost him his life.
Actually, I was a time bomb. I would have been dropped dead any time.
His primary care doctor failed to notice symptoms of heart trouble. It was only through the intervention of his daughter Ritu, who happens to be a physician, that he got a triple bypass. Jane's coronary arteries were blocked, and he was at high risk for having a massive heart attack.
I cannot believe somebody would practice medicine like that.
In any system, doctors can overlook life-threatening conditions. Proponents of managed care say their goal is to cut costs while maintaining a high quality of medical treatment.
Managing care is tough business. It involves the patient, it involves the health plan, it involves the physician. And they don't always like the idea of managing things or of change.
But President Clinton likes the way things have changed here. He'll visit Sacramento October 3rd as part of the effort to sell his health care plan. George Lewis, NBC News, Sacramento.
And when Nightly News continues in a moment, Woody Allen won't stand trial for child abuse, and he calls for peace with Mia Farrow.
Of course, no case ever.
Miss Barclay!
Conrad.
Room 801.
Once they were in love with butter, but cholesterol closed the door on their dreams until...
William.
May I serve you?
I can't believe it's not butter.
I Can't Believe It's Not Butter is the first spread flavored with real sweet cream buttermilk for a fresh butter taste, but without the cholesterol.
Now nothing can disturb our love.
I Can't Believe It's Not Butter, the taste you love without the cholesterol.
2 a.m., 36 Pine Street. Apartment 4C has a backache and can't sleep. 3C overdid her afternoon workout and is paying the price. 2C had an aching back, but fortunately she also has Tylenol PM gel caps with extra strength Tylenol pain reliever, plus a gentle ingredient to help her sleep. And a good night's sleep was all she needed to make her day a whole lot brighter. Tylenol PM, so you can rest easy.
The versatile Ricoh touchscreen copier. For those impressed by its remarkable brain, consider the body. Precision engineered for heavy duty and high volume. Ricoh's obsession with reliability and performance in a whole new class of machine. And the quality we put into it, you can get out of it right now. Because Ricoh's touchscreen copiers are not only more productive, they're also more affordable. The name to know, Ricoh.
I try to ignore my sensitive teeth, but they hurt.
Don't ignore your sensitive teeth. Sensodyne helps stop the pain that can make you stop brushing. Could lead even to tooth loss.
Thanks, Sensodyne.
Trust Sensodyne, the dentist's choice for sensitive teeth.
Now, date rape. It happens to 1 out of every 4 college women. Or does it? Tom Brokaw, Katie Couric. Now, NBC Wednesday.
The end of another chapter in the saga of Woody Allen and Mia Farrow today. Authorities in Connecticut decided not to prosecute Allen on child abuse charges, but that's not the end of the story. NBC's Mary Alice Williams has more tonight.
It was for the sake of the child, they said. A Connecticut prosecutor all but said Woody Allen did molest his 8-year-old daughter, Dylan. He just said he wouldn't prosecute him for it. So ends one of the most public airings of dysfunctional family laundry in American history. The director shot his final scene with a salvo at Mia Farrow, her attorneys, the prosecutor, with the kind of nuance that's given his film such texture, subtlety. As they squirm, lie, sweat, and tap dance, pathetically trying to save face and justify their moral squalor, their cheap, scheming reeks of sleaze and deception. Even if it meant putting my little girl through a meat grinder in a wheezing, salivating, desperate but unsuccessful attempt to fabricate a case, they now must wriggle like live bait to extricate themselves.
Mia was speechless. Her lines were read by an attorney.
You have to remember this is a man who's having an ongoing affair with a sister of his children, and I find that absolutely one of the most immoral situations that I can think of.
But like any good film, there was a surprise ending.
I now reverse myself and beg for peace. If the Arabs in Israel can do it, we can.
If they do kiss and make up, for the sake of the child, maybe they'll do it in private. That'd be a real twist. Mary Alice Williams, NBC News, New York.
In other news, remember the Golden Venture, the ship packed with almost 300 Chinese immigrants that ran aground off New York last June after being at sea for months? 10 people died as they desperately tried to make it to shore and freedom. Today, charges of manslaughter and negligent homicide in 6 of those deaths. Kin Sin Lee, called the ringleader, was arraigned in Brooklyn federal court today with 19 other accused smugglers. In economic news tonight, General Motors reportedly plans to cut another 50,000 jobs by 1996. That's on top of the 50,000 cuts GM already has announced. This comes just as GM prepares to negotiate a new contract with the United Auto Workers Union. And on Wall Street today, a late rally left the Dow slightly higher. Trading today was heavy. When we come back, a baseball fantasy play-by-play. You make the call.
Anderson with 6. Cal with a base hit up the...
Athlete's foot grows just beneath the surface of your skin, so that's where you have to get to cure it. Mycotin penetrates the skin surface with miconazole and kills the annoying fungus right where it starts. Mycotin penetrates, Mycotin cures.
Give me one good reason to try new Serenity bladder control guards.
This new blue layer, only Serenity has it.
Pulls the wetness in quicker.
Odor protection.
Drier, fresher, that just feels cleaner.
New Dry Layer Plus from Serenity.
I use a shampoo for dandruff, but my scalp still itches like crazy.
You need Scalpicin, the revolutionary scalp medicine for deep scalp itch, not ordinary dandruff. Scalpicin is not a shampoo. It's a clear liquid you don't wash away like shampoo. Apply Scalpicin anytime for deep scalp itch relief with medicine chosen by doctors over all these dandruff shampoo formulas. Scalpicin penetrates to relieve the itch and help prevent flaking.
The itch is gone.
Scalpicin, the scalp medicine for deep scalp itch.
They pay half on whoever I call most. This is good.
Sprint announces a whole new reason to switch to the most.
So technically, I can talk twice as long for the same amount.
Talk all you want. Sprint will split the bill on the person you call most.
You know, this split the bill thing is so big that I'll bet everybody's going to start doing it.
Maybe not everybody.
Call now and save 50% with Sprint's calling plan, the most.
Alpha Hydrox is going to turn everything you think about skincare on its head. When you hear what Alpha Hydrox does, you'll flip too.
Alpha Hydrox can reduce the appearance of wrinkles using a fruit acid as a natural exfoliant.
While it improves the way your skin looks and feels. Oh, and it's under $10.
Try it and see for yourself.
Alpha Hydrox, available at drug, discount, and grocery stores.
Their glue can ruin children's lives. They said they'd stop production, but are these kids still stuck on the stuff? Coming unglued.
Don't miss Dateline NBC.
Tuesday.
Let's face it, we're all Walter Middies, especially when it comes to sports. And there's always someone looking for a way to cash in on that. There have been baseball camps for middle-aged wannabes for some time, and now there's a new angle. NBC's Robert Hager tonight.
Major League Baseball, a down-to-the-wire September pennant race. Veteran broadcasters describe the action.
Brady lines one down the right field line.
But wait, there are new voices. Dawn Grandstaff and Michelle Banner.
We're going to make a fool of ourselves.
Keith Rosenbaum.
There's Rhodes in the windup.
Who's up next?
Grandstaff? Banner? Rosenbaum? Who are these people and what are they doing? They're trying something called fantasy play-by-play. Now in 10 Major League ballparks, including the Baltimore Orioles' Camden Yard.
And the fans really get to live out their fantasy and do something that they can't do at a normal event.
It's not a real broadcast, but it goes on a tape fans can take home. And the vantage point's not the best, from a booth way out in left field. But you get to use fancy technology, including live pictures of the game. So to some extent, you can sound like the real thing. For example,
Here's the pitch swung on. Down to second base for one. Over to first in time. Double play. So that's the inning.
And isn't that something? Pluck down $30 and call an inning of Major League Baseball in a Major League ballpark. As Mel Allen would say, how about that? Or as Harry Carey would say, holy cow.
some are surprisingly smooth, such as Keith Rosenbaum, whose wife let him do this for their anniversary.
Ground ball ripped to Segui at first. Segui makes the pickup, flips to Rhodes. Beautiful inning.
Check out the teamwork of fiancés Blair Judd and Shannon Davis.
Ball one, 1-1 count.
With 2 outs.
And nobody minds if a pitch that barely caught the attention of home team sports.
He runs very well. He had 24 stolen bases.
Was described somewhat differently by Dawn and Michelle.
No, was that a fly ball? Did I miss it? Did we miss it? Was that strike two? No. Actually, it must have been a foul ball.
Move over, Mel Allen. Take a break, Harry Carey. We're coming after your jobs.
We're looking good tonight.
Robert Hager, NBC News, in deep left field in Baltimore.
That's Nightly News for Friday. This Sunday, Tim Russert's guests on Meet the Press are Senate Armed Services Chairman Sam Nunn and Russia's Foreign Minister Andrei Kozyrov. Among the topics, Bosnia and the prospect of sending in U.S. troops. I'm Tom Brokaw. I'll see you here again on Monday.
They wanted a baby, so they adopted one. Then the birth mother took the child away. The Adoption Crisis, America Close Up, with solutions to a national problem on NBC Nightly News Monday.
Mary Sue Terry is attacking George Allen with negative TV ads, distorting his record. But where's she been for 7 years? As the state's top law enforcement official, Terry's presided over the largest increase in violent crime in history. Rape is up, robbery is up, and murder is up dramatically too. So the next time you see a Terry ad, remember, when a politician like Mary Sue Terry asked for a new job, look first at what she did in the old one.
NBC has searched the globe for Blossom's season premiere.
Paris.
Paris. It's the biggest Blossom adventure of all in Paris.
I love this city, man.
Where romance, excitement, and danger are everywhere.
There's a guy in the house. That guy's been following us.
Where you never know who you'll meet next.
So you made a friend.
Finny?
Plus,
Hi, baby. It's really great to see you.
the decision that will change Blossom and her mom forever.
Whoa.
The world premiere movie Blossom in Paris on a special night. Tonight at 8, 7 Central on NBC.